Hi, Brother Ashraf. Can you elaborate the difference in greater detail between the fourth dimensional living and fifth dimensional living, or conscious or unconscious living? How is this difference defined? And can you also tell us the role of trances and how it's holding us or limiting us in our spiritual power and our creative power? Thank you.
So much for that question, Ms. Nuna. The question is the contrast between unconscious living and conscious living. How can we contrast between unconscious living and conscious living? How can we contrast? What is the contrast between fifth dimensional living and fourth dimensional living? And how does this actually show up in our lives? So it's a brilliant question. And so we can live, as I've been saying, consciously or unconsciously. And what does that mean generally? So consciously means you live aware, a person who's aware, and aware of yourself, aware of your surroundings, aware of truth, aware of a power greater than you, aware of the relationship of the power greater than you, aware of what is possible for you to be, become, what is possible for you to live and experience. So when I use the word conscious compared to unconscious, that's basically what I'm talking about. What I'm really talking about is that a person is living with awareness. Awareness of themselves, awareness of their lives, awareness of their role in their lives, awareness of the source energy, and that they are because God is, and the relationship God is relating with us, and what we can multidimensionally begin to open up to and have experiences of other realities, meaning other experiences beyond the experiences we're having of ourselves and the experiences we're having of our lives. There is beyond who we know ourselves to be and what our lives are. There is beyond that for us to actually become aware of and have the experience of. So that's what conscious is really aware. So what is happening is that when somebody is unconscious, they are unaware. See, when somebody is unconscious, they are unaware of themselves, unaware of their role that they play in their lives, unaware of a sustaining power, unaware of the role of that sustaining power in their lives, and how they can multidimensionally, through super and supra-consciousness, have the experience of security and have the experience of satisfaction, that they can begin to focus on alternate realities. So this is basically the contrast between unconscious and conscious living. It's like aware in a wider perspective and unaware of a wider perspective. It's like expansiveness of being and the limitedness of being. And that's what fifth and fourth dimensional living is all about. So when somebody is conscious and they are aware of beyond time and space, they are super conscious, and they are aware of alternate realities that exist beyond the current reality that they're experiencing, the supra consciousness. They are said to be operating fifth dimensionally. They're operating fifth dimensionally. Fifth dimension means beyond the four dimensions of time and space, the three of space and the one of time. In the fifth dimension, that means beyond time and space, is the fifth dimension. So fifth dimensional living is living not unconsciously, living consciously, living aware. See, the more aware we are, the more we can access fifth dimensional living. The less aware we are, or the more unconscious we are, the more we're stuck in and bound in fourth dimensional living. So what is fourth dimensional living? Where you think that the life that you're experiencing is the only experience of life that there is. The you that you are is the only version of you that you think there is. And so in fourth dimensional living, you are stuck, you are bound, you are locked in what currently is, what version of you or the way you are, you're stuck in that. And you try to change that, which doesn't work. Or you are stuck in your life the way it is and you try and change that and that doesn't work. So when you are in fifth dimensional awareness or fifth dimensional living, you are operating beyond time and space, and you can have different experience of being living other than people that are in the fourth dimensional experience of being and living, which is very limited. So we can access security, and we can access our personal power, and we can access our creativity when we live fifth dimensionally. And fourth dimensionally, we're just controlled by things, and we try and control things, trying to change, control, correct. We are against what is, trying to change what is in us, in others, in the world, living very resistantly, living very reactively. So fourth dimensional living is a very powerless way of living. It's a way of projecting power out onto the physical world, thinking that whatever is what really is currently, and there's nothing beyond that. And so we are lost in time and space, locked in time and space, not realizing that there's a world of energy, vibration, frequency, spirit, multidimensionality, imagination. We're not aware of the imaginal self that is really beyond the body and the mind and the emotions, and we're not living from that imaginal self. So to take it further and observe what keeps us in the fourth dimensional way of operating or way of living, it's really, as we said, unconsciousness versus consciousness, you see, is fourth dimensional living versus fifth dimensional living. So what is it that we can observe in ourselves and in others that are indications of unconsciousness or unawareness, and thus they will live fourth dimensionally? So what will we see? What will we notice? So the first is the archetype of the beggar. You've heard me say this before in this particular seminar, and you'll hear me saying it again in subsequent seminars, that we want to go beyond the beggar archetype. We want to go beyond the beggar archetype. And what is an archetype? It is a universal pattern. So if we see a beggar in South Africa, and we see a beggar in South America, or if we see a beggar in South Asia or wherever, or in North America, wherever, it's the same universal pattern. So human beings can embody a universal pattern that is a way of showing up in the world, a way of living in the world, a way of experiencing the world. And we recognize a beggar archetype, a beggar consciousness. And it's, typically what we see, people needing money and trying to get money, and they go around asking people for money. Typically that's what a beggar is. But it's a belief in need, that I am only okay if I have, if I get, if I do, if I be. So as long as somebody has a belief in need, that I need to be okay, that I'm not okay now, but I need to be okay. If I get something, to happen, if I get myself to be a certain way, if I get somebody to be a certain way, if things, are the way I believe I need them to be for me to be okay, then I'll be okay. This is a belief in need, and it's what creates insecurity. Insecurity doesn't really exist. As I've said in previous interviews, that we are powerful now, we are creative now, we are secure now, we are okay now. But we do not experience our okayness that we are already now, our security that we are already now, our powerfulness that we are already now, our creativity that we are already now, because of beliefs that we have, ideas in the mind that we think is true and we feel is true, and we identify with them thinking that it must be true, and we act like it's true. So the belief that I need to be okay, I need something, then I'll be okay when I have it, or I need to get rid of something, and when I get rid of it, then I'll be okay. So the belief in need is what actually is behind the beggar archetype, that I need to be okay. And so whether it's a typical beggar or a glorified beggar where somebody believes I need a man's love, then I'll be okay, or a woman's love, and then I'll be okay. Without a man's love, without a woman's love, I'm not okay. I need a job, then I'll be okay. If I have money, I'll be okay. Without a job or money, I won't be okay. Any such belief renders you a beggar and insecure. So that is the trance. You see, the trance is the trance of neediness, of believing in need, that I'm not okay, I need to be okay. And the archetype that is then produced for us to be experiencing ourselves as and to live life through is a beggar. And what you'll find is that there's lack in a beggar's life, that we actually experience lack if we identify with the belief in need, that we experience that there is not enough, or we need to get, or we're not okay, that we're always chasing after something, or controlled by something, or trying to control something. So the first form that unconsciousness takes, is that of the beggar archetype. And we are here to support going beyond the lie of the belief in need, and to recognize I don't need, that we are okay now, that we are sustained and supported in being okay. So we're already okay. We don't need anything to be okay. And this is what it means to go from insecurity to security, or from the beggar to the believer. And if you don't like the word believer, you can use the word boss. So we are going from a person who's trying to get to a person who already has what? Support. So we all have support. We all are sustained. The earth is being spun for us all. There's oxygen for us to breathe. There's a power that is beyond the human and beyond the creation, that ensures the creation is and continues to be. And when we acknowledge that we actually don't need anything, we are okay. We have the universal supportive power, the universal all great, all gracious power, the universal benefiting and caring power. When we recognize that we have that power and that we are in the care of that power, and sufficient is that care for us, sufficient is that power for us and its care for us, that we can trust in that power and we are now in its care, that means we have oxygen to breathe, the earth is spinning, we exist and we continue to exist because of the sustaining power, then we move beyond the belief in need and we experience being a believer, or a boss consciousness, which is where you see people living their lives freely, not trying to get and control by things, but freely applying themselves. So you can want a job, and you can want money, and you can want a partner, to experience natural living with, but you don't need a partner, and you don't need a job or a money, in your life. And so you can actually, from freedom, operate in a way that allows you to experience fulfillment. But if you don't have this level of security, in the old language it was called faith, the experience of okayness now, that I am okay now, I am in the care of that which created me, faith, that there is that which created me beyond me and this world, but it is the cause of this world, and it is beyond this world, and we are okay, and everything is okay. So you see, this is the first archetype that we challenge, the beggar archetype, and we promote the believer archetype. It's a universal experience. People from all over the world, from all different communities and cultures, can have a universal experience of security. It's got nothing to do with anything, beliefs, etc., etc. And so the second archetype that we observe in unconscious people, First being a beggar, and in conscious people we observe the believer, or the boss consciousness. And the second archetype we observe in the unconscious people, or the powerless people, those living those living and bound in fourth dimensional living. The second one is the addict. See, the addict. And in what we observe in the conscious person, or the fifth dimensional person, is the adult. And what is the difference between the addict and the adult? The addict believes that they need something to be different, to feel good. That while things are as they are, they can't feel natural good feelings now. They cannot experience ease, joy, love, happiness now. They can't feel naturally good now while something is the way it is. It must stop being, then they'll feel good, and that's the objective. The addict is trying to avoid feeling bad, thinking that if they avoid feeling bad, that they'll then feel good, which is a lie. It's a trance. And so we realize that no matter what is going on, as an adult, we can handle it. That as an adult, that what's going on doesn't need to be changed for us to experience being at ease. We can choose to feel good naturally in spite of and despite of what's going on. So regardless of what's going on, an adult is able to handle that situation as an adult, meaning use the resources of being present, relaxed and at ease, calm in that situation, and begin to see the situation without being controlled by it and without trying to control it. They can handle that situation knowing that they can be at ease with it and experience ease with it. You see, so this is what we notice in a conscious person, in a fifth dimensional functioning person, that they are calm, they are at ease, in spite of and despite what's going on. They recognize that they can feel good now, naturally, and they don't believe the lie, the trance, that the insecure person feels, or the addict believes in, that I can't feel good while this is as it is. I need it to change. If I change it, I won't feel bad. The addict is trying to change things, including their mood, so that they don't feel bad. Instead of letting it be and experiencing adult power, ease, and then from adult power to go beyond that current experience of reality. So this is what we are talking about here, that the beggar blocks themselves from experiencing security. And if you're not experiencing security, you're experiencing neediness. And that means that you will try to avoid feeling bad instead of actually feeling good, which a secure person doesn't have to avoid feeling bad to feel good naturally. And so the insecure person will try to avoid feeling bad, thinking if I stop feeling bad, I will feel good. So they will feel bad about situations. That bad feeling comes from them. They will project power out onto these situations and then try and change the situations in a vain attempt to regain their good feeling. And what we realize is we created powerful, we created secure. We can experience spiritual power now. No matter what is going on, we don't need anything to experience spiritual power, security, and we don't need anything to experience personal power or selffulness now, because we created secure, we created selfful. And so the third and final part that we observe in the distinction between unconscious and conscious, or fourth dimensional and fifth dimensional living, is the trance of something is the cause of my unhappiness. That if something changed, I will be happy. So it's not my fault that I'm unhappy. It's this thing that makes me unhappy. It's the trance of blame. It's the trance of blame. That something is responsible for the way I feel. Not me. Somebody is responsible for the way I feel. And that's what makes us a victim. Because we project power out and we don't own our power from feeling secure and feeling at ease to focus on being pleased. So a secure person, spiritually empowered, can be self-full, personally empowered, and then can move forward in support of their satisfaction, their experience of being pleased, using creative power. So when we are aware, we can operate consciously, superconsciously, and supraconsciously. When we're unaware, we're just limited to unconscious living, subconscious living, patterns of our tribe continuing, or our own personal patterns continuing in life, stuck in a life that we are miscreating. But when we are conscious, when we are actually living fifth dimensionally, we're free. And we are secure, self-full, and satisfied because we know that we're okay, we can experience ease, and we know that being pleased is something that we ourselves can support experiencing being. We can support experiencing being pleased. So, yeah, that's how, we can distinguish between unconscious versus conscious living, fourth dimensional versus fifth dimensional living, through the unconscious beliefs and trances. And the way we go beyond is by challenging the trances and going beyond the lies that we believe, and thus accepting the truth and living the truth, living truthfully. So thank you so much for that very pertinent question, and giving me the opportunity to share with the other students a deeper distinction between these two levels of being or operating powerlessly and powerfully. Thank you for that.